It's time for Talkin Tauntauns, your Star Wars source at AIPTcomics.com.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tauntauns. I am Jim Lehane, and with me is not Nicole this week. She is taking some personal time, so I have called in a couple of stalwart supporters to join me. First up from AIPT, it's our good old friend, Nick Nefliotis.
Almost
I
got
can
it
pronounce
that time,
your
Jim.
name.
Almost got it. You almost got it.
No, that was totally there.
Left off the P. Nafpliotis. It's okay, though.
No.
You've only known me for a few years. It's all right.
I have a cold, and if I tried to put the P in there, my whole face would have collapsed in on itself.
Understand.
I knew it was there. I just, yeah. And with us, joining us from her taking time out of her writing gig at The Nerdist and Star Wars Ologies podcast, it's our old friend, Melissa Miller.
Woo, you pronounced it right. Good job. That would have been really bad, I guess, if you'd gotten Melissa Miller wrong.
I did have to look at the screen and go, Miler? Two L's? And so, how are you doing, Melissa?
I am good. Thanks for having me here, Jim. I'm excited to talk Andor.
So when I talked to Nicole about who we wanted to have on, and she's like, who do we have on for Rogue One? Like, I'm like, Melissa was on for Rogue One. She's like, we need Melissa back on.
Yes, I talked way too long and loud about Rogue One, and I could anytime, any day.
So it's great to have you here. How are you doing, Nick?
Doing good. We're about 2.5 months from the birth of my child, so full steam ahead here at the Nafpliotis household doing that. But yeah.
That's I believe right before my daughter was born, at about this time where you're at, we were finishing up the baby's room. We had carpet just put in at that point.
We're going dinosaur themed to start, but
I don't
sneaking in.
I
Sneaking
don't
in
know
Star
if I can
Wars
get behind
as we go.
that.
I don't want to go with a franchise yet. I wanted to go with something that was overall scientifically cool, and then move to media.
No
franchise.
one asked you, Jim?
No, I like as the paleontologist on the team. I feel like dinosaurs are a good choice.
Yeah, so dinosaurs first, then we'll move to media franchises. Like, although the baby does have plenty of Star Wars and University of Kentucky gear right now. So
well-rounded. I like it.
I don't know what I can say about University of Kentucky. I literally have no baseline there. But
I can tell you, a friend of mine got me a University of Kentucky diaper bag. She's a Georgia fan, and I really appreciate it. She goes, well, that's because when I think of your school, the only thing I can think of are poopy diapers. So I got this for you. I was like, thanks.
Perfect.
This is how, in the South, this is how college football, warps our souls.
That's okay. I lived in Texas for 2 years.
Oh, so times 10, yeah.
They play high school football on the broadcast stations.
Oh,
like it's college is nothing. It starts in high school. So it's it's a different world down there.
Oh yeah.
So we have some news.
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
Hello, what have we here?
I think this is all the hard-hitting reporting that Melissa is used to at the Nerdist. Very, very, very important things. First up, that Build-A-Bear has just released a Wampa sporting a removable arm.
The removable arm kills me. It's very funny. Excellent attention to detail, Build-A-Bear. Yeah, I kind of want one. It's a good thing. I don't know. I feel like it's a good thing I'm an adult Star Wars fan now because I can spend my own money on things like this. And I did a story for Nerdist a couple weeks ago about the ET Build-A-Bear and was like, oh, yeah,
really
that's cute. I don't really care
there.
about. Yeah, I was like, I don't really care about. I didn't realize how much licensed stuff they have. And yeah, a Wampa, a cute little Wampa with a like Velcro arm. Pretty great.
They
Also
seem,
a little dark though.
yeah, they seem to rotate. Maybe not even go back, just kind of go through licenses a lot. Because like I'll walk by and like I guess that's the way to keep people from coming back, as if they constantly have new things. Yeah, I have a stuffed wampa somewhere behind me. Everything got moved because I'd lock my dog in here with me, and she would get curious,
Right.
and I'd find something in her mouth, and I'd go, "Yeah, let's not do that."
Yeah, that's worth hundreds of dollars. Don't do it. Not the Funkos.
That's what I have a tauntaun with a torn foot somewhere from one of them.
Oh, okay.
Actually, our
Not
logo
screen
is
accurate.
well, our logo is that tauntaun.
Okay.
That's the one I traced. So our
Well, yeah,
other
it's just kind of dark, right? Though, because I know that there was at some point a Tauntaun hoodie where the inside of the hoodie
Yep.
was like the gut track.
There's a sleeping bag too. Yeah,
this is the sleeping
Yeah,
bag.
that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
it was so I have that sleeping bag. It was a Think Geek
Okay.
back when Think Geek was a thing. It was their
Okay.
their what's it called, April Fool's Day like gag thing, and they got such like positive reviews or like people going like I really want this, that don't make it just a fake thing, that they actually ended up making it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
And so I do have that sleeping bag, and it is a fantastic sleeping bag.
That's kind of what the Wampa feels like to me, though. Is like it. Yeah, I'm surprised that it's a real thing, honestly. But hey, get that cute Wampa removable arm, money there, Build-A-Bear.
It feels like it's disrespectful to the poor Wampa after he was savagely attacked in his own home by his
Seriously.
dinner.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
So our other news is it just came in this morning, to me at least, through New York Times. I noticed it is that apparently a California baker. Why this is news, I don't know, but we'll go there. A California baker has made a life-size Han Solo and carbonate out of bread.
Yep. Pan Solo or Pan Solo, depending on how you want to pronounce it, like Lando or like Han. But yeah, pretty funny. Definitely sounds delicious. It actually looks really amazing. I don't know if you saw pictures.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it's
insane. It's like they get the grimace right. They get the like hands coming through. And then I don't know if you see pictures of the side of it, it even has like the little greeble things on it. Like, the Star Wars, like the actual carbonite, rectangle or whatever. They did even the sides of it and stuff. It's pretty impressive.
I'm looking at it now. It looks delicious.
You're right. The surface is very not bread like. It looks like kind of like a plastic sheen to it.
Yeah, I think they used, like I think it was called dead dough or something like that, where it's not edible actually, right? It wouldn't be good, but it's all bread products.
Also, it probably like this is the face down side, so cooked the back would be what was up probably in the pan. So it's
right.
Any imperfections would be unseen,
Yeah,
I assume.
That's true.
I don't know. I don't make life-size bread products, so I'm not. I can't be considered an expert.
Yeah, no, I wrote about this on Friday for Nerdist, and definitely made the like "I love you" reference, because I also say "I love you" to bread, and it doesn't say it back the way that Han Solo. So it seems somehow appropriate. See what I did there?
I see what you did there. I'm desperately trying to think of a segue involving inappropriate relationships with food, but I can't. But with that,
There's not a lot of food in Andor.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot of food in Andor except for the milk.
I mean, Diego Luna is a snack, so you could just go with that.
He is a snack.
This is why I need Nicole here. No offense, Nick, but
I recognize it's okay. I'm fully straight. I 100% agree on that. So
So on to Andor.
Suddenly the rebellion is real for you. Some of us live it. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. You're not the only one who lost everything. Some of us just decided to do something about it.
Episode 6, I think. I don't even have my notes up. Episode 6, The Eye, which broadcast on October 12th, 2022. We get to see Sauron final. Oh, wait, no, that's a different show. Also with an episode called The Eye that released nearly at the same time. Episode 7 of Rings of Power was also called The Eye.
Oh,
that
wow.
came
Oh,
out
that's funny. I
like
didn't
4 days
notice
before.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Now, what's funny is Jim, when he asked me to do the podcast, I was looking and I actually was wondering.
We're actually doing the podcast right now, just so you know.
Yeah. And I said, when he asked me, I was just wondering, I was like, I'm like, there's some stuff in nature and some ceremonies. I'm like, I should start looking that up. I'm like, no, I don't need to look that up because Melissa's going to be out here and she knows Star Wars. You might have said if someone's going to know it,
She'll have a full page of notes about it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I remember last time I heard a podcast, I think the first time I heard you, I wasn't even on the podcast. You were just talking about the idea of doing a Star Wars nature documentary, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. I still want you to be hired by Lucasfilm to do that one day. But yeah, I guess that would be my first thing is that eye thing, as beautiful as it was, and it was really cool effects. There's stuff, that's based off some phenomenon, or at least roughly around here, but I couldn't think of what it was. So I'm sure you have a better idea than I do about it.
It seems to be like some merging of the Aurora Borealis and various meteor showers that go on.
Right.
It seems to be something like that. I don't remember because he talked about it in the previous episode or the episode before that Nemec did about what it actually was, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
No, I had to go back for that too because I was thinking about it like a meteor shower, and I was like, I feel like Nemec had some like techno babble. By the way, R.I.P. I know we'll get there, but
Wait,
Nemec
what?
had some
I
techno
haven't finished the episode yet.
Well, that's your own fault. This is live, baby. But yeah, that, by the way, that actor is the best at technobabble I feel like I've heard anytime recently. So I want him to now just get hired as like Q or, some other sort of, on Star Trek or something like that. But yeah, so he said recurrent band of crystal microdensities. It's not a meteor shower. So that, kind of means something, but sure. Like, so meteor showers that we have on Earth are usually a yearly thing because it's our, Earth's orbit taking us through a bunch of dust or whatever the same time every year. And so it's similar to that, certainly. This one's every 3 years. So that's sort of interesting. That means something else is going on in the orbit, but we don't have to think too much about that. But yeah, no, it's also super cool. One of the most beautiful sequences.
Yeah, it depends on what you consider a year, because it may be a imperial year is like a 3-year rotation for that planet, and they're just using imperial time.
Sure. We've never really gotten into that, I feel like, in Star Wars, like standard years, basic years, whatever they're going to call them. But yeah, it could absolutely be hand waved away by that. And then like the colors and stuff like that, that definitely is, so meteors on Earth, if you see different colors, sometimes you see them green, sometimes they look red. It's all about the makeup of the rock, right? So the different, and so like what you're saying with the Aurora Borealis, it's the same thing.
Well,
no, iron versus I don't know exactly, all those sorts of things. So it just that they burn up a different color in the atmosphere and stuff like that, and also depending on how fast they're going and things. So
chromium,
that was really cool to see.
Yeah,
certainly if you lived on that planet and you didn't understand all of that or know all of that, for sure that is like a religious experience, right?
I think even if you knew about it, like, we know how the Aurora Borealis falls, is created, and that still doesn't mean that it's anything less than like gorgeous if you were to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked one of my favorite scenes was when it showed the people and the Imperial officers all kind of looking up in wonder at it. And there was just that brief moment, as cheesy as it is, where there was kind of this shared humanity. It's like, well, there is that one thread of, something can make everybody for a second just all be like together, like, oh, that's cool. Then we can go back to killing each other and hating each other. There was just that one very brief moment. And that's one thing I've liked about Andor so much is she's showing you sides of the Empire and the Rebellion that you don't really see explored as much.
Yeah. So we wrap up this week with our second arc of the series. Obviously, the first two episodes were building up to the climactic taking of lots of money. And that's exactly what we got. And I don't know about you guys. This was stressful. Like, it was an intense episode. Like, second time through, I'm like watching. I'm like, okay, it's not as intense the second time, but the first time, it was pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, I love a heist, right? Comedy, drama, horror, any sort of genre. I love a heist. But these people planned for an awful long time to not really pull off a heist very well. So I'm very curious about that. But yeah, I was definitely stressed. I mean, we know it's a Rogue One type Star Wars, so we know they're not scared to kill off a whole bunch of people. But I was still surprised by half the team dying in the heist.
More than half, I think. By the end of the episode, we're left with 3 out of the 7 team members.
Yeah.
Because we're left with Cinta, who I still feel is criminally underutilized. I really hope she comes back. Vel.
They left her on the planet. Was that the plan?
That was by design, I think. But yeah, that was kind of like, well, that's a bad gig.
Yeah.
We have her girlfriend, Vel, who they are clearly a couple.
Yeah, I like that they hinted. I forget which one they were talking about in one of the first episodes of this arc. She's already sharing a blanket or whatever, and then
they
making it be a same-sex couple. That's great.
Yep, they with Vel putting her hand on her, like, you got this. That was weird. Vel was very weird in this episode. It was like, I thought you were gung ho about this, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't want to pull the trigger. Like, dude, like.
But I felt like they did a good job because, like, she knew that Cinta was going to be left behind, and like now looking back at it in hindsight, when she was, for the first time ever hesitant about any of this, she's there with her the whole time, and it's hitting her. I have to leave you, and I think that's what looking back in hindsight. Same way that I'm like, this is weird. She hasn't been like this, but now that you know that the plan involved leaving her on the planet. It's like, oh, well, no wonder. Also
Yeah. And definitely that moment of hesitation. I thought that was a really interesting beat for the writers to put in there of, everyone's waiting for her to say go. And she's like considering calling it off, even though there's no reason to. And I don't know, maybe that's just it's hard to be the leader. You know that you're sending some people in and this is, maybe they're going to die or whatever. So maybe it was just that. But yeah, I'm curious about that for sure. And if Cassian is actually still on that random moon with her or something like that, what happens in the next episode when they, split up or team up?
Yeah, that's where we left everybody was Cassian and Vel were left theoretically together, but obviously with the way it was left, we don't need to be there. We could have moved on from that point quite easily enough. That was pretty much wrapped up by killing our poor Nemec. And, like, we talked about Nemec dying before. And how many
Nicole
times...
called it, right?
She did.
She was like,
I love him.
He's going to die.
Almost die in this episode. Like, because when they first enter into the dam, the one guard, I don't know if he grabbed Nemec's gun. I still can't tell if he grabbed Nemec's gun or he had a gun on his own, and he pulls it on Nemec. And then Vel drops in from nowhere and shoots him. The guard shoots and just missed Nemec's head.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I think it's Cinta that shoots him, but I didn't notice that he actually got a shot off. So
okay,
yeah, he was under threat.
I guess yeah.
I just watched it like an hour ago, so but yeah, that's the only reason I remember. But yeah.
It was a shot right by him, and then he's like pinned down. I believe he almost got killed again, and so he finally makes it through the heist. Just to get crushed because he doesn't hold on tight enough. OSHA
violations, dude. And again, we're talking about, a bad heist. What was their plan? were they ever going to strap, if they'd had more time, were they going to strap themselves into seats? Were they going to like ratchet strap those things down to the ground? Like,
Well,
if the trajectory was to go straight up and straight down through a flippin' meteor shower, everything has to be secured. Anyway.
Well, you assume that the ship has seats because they do this. This is not an unscheduled, like, it was on rails. Like, the ship has to, like, get launched off like this normally.
Yeah, there's jump seats or something like that. So holding onto the railing was never a great plan.
Maybe only for 2 people, though, because they had the pilot and co-pilot chair.
That's still one more person that was in a chair.
Well, and also, if all 6 of them were supposed to fly off in this thing,
7, I guess Cinta was never supposed to fly off.
Well, and I don't know if that's true or not, but if Cinta was always supposed to stay on the planet, then 6 of them were allegedly going to leave in this thing. Or the lieutenant wasn't going to. Maybe he was going to keep his cover. I don't know. But like certainly more than 2 of them were always intended to leave on this thing.
From what it seemed like before they got ambushed, Goran was all set to be on that ship because he was like, let's get going. Let's get on the ship. And he would like, it was right after that they got jumped. And
all his guards saw him. I mean, his cover's blown.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So. Yeah.
I'll tell you,
question to you. Oh, no, go ahead, Nick.
I was going to say, I think one of the things that watching the show is really, and I'll be honest, I didn't like it at first. I thought it was just because I was a meathead and I wanted more action. But I love it now. It's not been the action. It's been how weird watching the show makes me feel. It's kind of like when you watch The Americans and you find yourself rooting for, Soviet spies and you're like, what's happening here? And the same thing here, like, for instance, Miro, the lieutenant, and the who keeps getting brushed off, even though she's the one picking out what's happening with the rebels, and you're rooting for her because she's getting shouted down, even though she's clearly smarter than everybody in the room. So you're rooting for her, but you realize you're rooting for her to, do something bad. At the same time, these rebels go in and they take hostages, and they're like, "We'll kill the kid. We don't care. Just do it." And you're like, "Oh my God." And even one of the Imperials is like, "Just let the child go." And they're like, "No,
right,
no." And you're like, "Oh." And it's really making you have to, come face to face with that humanity, kind of like with that moment where they all were looking at the eye. It's like, there's a lot of gray in the show. And look, the bad guys and the good guys are still very clear. I mean, that commander was comically evil, and the fact that he died after 15 minutes of labor shows, the opulence of the empire. But still, I mean, it was just, you look at some of this and you're like, oh, that's a complicated feeling.
Yeah.
Watching that.
No, yeah. And actually that goes right into what I was going to say too, which is I'm curious what you all think, but they don't show the hostages alive at the end of this.
Well, I was going to ask you, that's the great debate online I've noticed is because Cinta changed into her Imperial uniform in front of them. Does that mean that they're gone?
I honestly, watching it again this morning, I was trying to remember. I was like, well, maybe they show them still. They don't show them ever again. She is, none of them are acting, there's no face masks. They're not trying to keep any of that, covered. And she looks pretty distraught. Like when she's walking down the hill under the eye, like I was thinking like, oh, she's distraught because the plan changed and they had to leave without her and she's got to figure her way off this planet. Like, or she just killed a room full of people, including a kid.
I think this was the plan. I don't think because she was getting dressed into the Imperial uniform while they were still loading the cargo before everything kind of went to poodoo.
Mm-hmm. So do you think she killed the hostages or no?
I think it's entirely possible. She was they also said that she was the most cutthroat one, or at least Skeen said she was the most cutthroat one at the beginning.
If I had to put money on it, I'd say she did.
Yeah. That was the impression I got from my rewatch too. And so that goes right into what you were saying, where, I'm always rooting for the female Imperial officers because they're few and far between. I'm always like, yes, get it. Even though you're right, that makes me feel complicated about, I obviously don't want her to figure out what the rebels are up to or track down Cassian or anything like that. But
it's so frustrating.
The rebels are clearly doing some bad stuff.
It's so frustrating watching Bureau because she's like, she knows what she's talking about. She's totally nailed it. And I love that she had that assistant who told her, it's like, no, you're right about this. Don't give up.
you're right.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn right, you're right. Wait, no, don't figure this out. But it's
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and they haven't, I mean, I think the character has a different name, but I don't remember. But that looks like a baby Tarkin to me. Like, why else do you cast a guy with the same cheekbones as Peter Cushing if you're not making some sort of, I don't know. I feel like there's something to that.
Oh,
maybe.
her assistant?
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks to me.
He's definitely
like,
not Tarkin, because at this point Tarkin is Moff.
Well,
so
I know he's not Tarkin.
But
I'm
yeah,
saying he's like a
definitely.
nephew or something. Like he's got the same genes in there is my prediction. Because like you don't cast a guy that looks exactly to me like Peter Cushing.
Well, I don't know about his
on
clothing
accident.
choices if he has the same genes as Tarkin.
Boo.
Don't worry, I'll send that to Nicole.
Just audio of me booing you.
Yeah. So speaking of the rebels and how you're rooting for the Empire and the rebels are doing some shady poodoo, again, they're terrorists. Like the Empire is quote unquote the legitimate government. You have people who are fighting it. That's like pretty much by any means necessary. They are terrorists, and I think we're getting into the nitty gritty of what that means. Mostly, it was just Saw that we saw before. Saw. He needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm curious, and you know better in terms of how this is going to potentially overlap with Rebels and stuff like that, since that's your go-to show. But yeah, all the different cells and everyone's sort of acting, you know, outside of things. Like, you know, how we know at least that Stellan Skarsgård, who I know he has a name, but still, that's just he's always that guy to me.
Luthen.
Right. So we know Luthen is connected with Mon Mothma, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, you know, that the idea is that that's the main rebellion or whatever, right? That's going to be the one that's legitimized any day now, but
I don't know.
There's still not rules or plans necessarily. So,
by the way, can I interject really quick? I just looked up hurt to tend to hurt, and listen, you're not even you undersold it. This dude looks like he definitely came from Tarkin's loins, right? He looks. I didn't realize that, but yeah. He is.
Oh man, they showed him on screen, and I was like, "That looks exactly to me. That looks just as much like Peter Cushing as in Rogue One. The like fake version looked like Peter Cushing to me."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, we'll see."
So, as far as I'm aware of the timeline wise, like I said before, this is, I believe, actually, this season takes place concurrently with the first season of Rebels. My understanding so far is we're actually before Rebels, like in the same year, but we're like a little before. Everything's taken place over a very short period of time. Like he was on the planet for 3 days. And like before that, it was like 2 days. So we've only like covered like probably a week worth of time in Andor. And I would imagine, because we keep getting references to the Gorms or whoever
right. Gormans, I think. Yeah.
is looking out for, which again comes up in Rebels. So I think like we are going to at some point get a reference to what's happening in Rebels probably by the end of this season. And kind of like, oh, there's other cells out there. But I believe like, because Bail was kind of over that cell eventually once they kind of got folded into the Empire through Ahsoka. I feel like Mon Mothma and Bail obviously are working together. I don't know if Mon Mothma is like the kingpin at this point.
Right. Yeah, no, and she's still undercover or whatever, right? Still a senator and all of that.
At least for the next 3 years, she should be.
Is that right? Okay, I couldn't remember exactly in Rebels when she like announces, you know, the formal thing. So that's interesting. So that means halfway through next season of Andor, maybe we'll get that, you know, legitimizing of the rebellion, you know, all caps or whatever.
It's interesting that we're going at such a, like, obviously not a slow pace, but timeline wise, it's, like I said, a week for 6 episodes, and we're only supposed to cover this first year, whereas next season, 12 episodes covers 4 years of time. I'm guessing like they're going to do the individual arcs and time hop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right.
I'm curious to see that. And I hadn't heard actually before I heard it on this awesome podcast, Talkin Tauntauns, about that whole 3-episode arc thing. That was news to me. And obviously that's definitely what's been true so far in Andor. And so, yeah, if you're going to cover 4 years in 12 episodes next year, then that kind of makes sense. Which is, I mean, I'm open to seeing how they do it, but I want more time in this universe, honestly. So
it's, I kind of criticized the 12 episodes because all those Marvel Netflix shows were all 13 episodes. And they were all way too long. Like, I haven't even watched all of them, but they're all way too long. They're all probably about 3 episodes too long. This one, though, I'm feeling like we're barely getting started.
yeah, if you're going to do this, if you're going to do it at this pace, you need to cover less time, right? There's a little Game of Thronesian, right? To me, is like, we're walking, and then the end of season 2 is going to be like, you know, K2SO and Leia and, you know, the rebellion and all that. And we're going to be like, slow down. So we'll see.
By the way, speaking of K2SO, I mean, I love the episode. That climb thing, that was a really cheesy callback. I'm sorry. It was like,
Cheesy?
I'm like, oh, come on.
The internet disagrees with you.
Well, they can disagree. I rolled my eyes. I was like, come on. That kid did plenty to have his own moment. It didn't need to be a callback to K2SO. I don't know. I just thought
But it's not a callback.
Well,
He came
chronologically,
first. So
yeah, I know,
K2SO is calling back to the kid.
chronologically, it just, I don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to feel about it. I honestly didn't notice it. The Nerdist team puts out like things you might have missed, you know, and I watched it, and for sure I missed that. That's a little bit of a heartbreaker.
Me too.
But, yeah,
I totally missed it till I saw it online. They're like talking about like that callback to K2SO. And I'm like, what callback to K2SO?
Right.
And it's like the climb. And I'm like,
right.
Oh yeah, that was in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Which is one of my
as
favorite
long as
moments
we
of Rogue
get,
One.
yeah.
But
Yeah. Now, as long as we get more, honestly, I wanted with B, the droid. I hope we get more B because I love droids.
B2 emo.
But also I wanted B2 emo. Yeah. I really want to see more seeds. Like if Cassian gets to program K2SO's personality, right? That's sort of like what we're told in Rogue One. I want it to be based on his sassy, you know, childhood droid or whatever. So I want more of that
is the droid. Like
what
just like literally like take out the personality.
Go
out
like
of
the L3 version where the Millennium Falcon is yeah, that could be. So, but yeah, I want more of that in terms of callbacks, quote unquote. I didn't necessarily need the climb thing, but like I said, I also didn't notice it on my own.
That's what the internet's for.
Is it?
Maybe? I don't know. I don't know what the internet's for. I was
So if you think that was cheesy, Nick, what did you think? The doctor's name? I don't know if you already know this, but if you
yeah, that was but that made me just laugh. I was like, okay.
Is that that is like a yak face, right? That is like an action figure, like terrible name kind of callback to me that I hate but also love.
Like it felt like it had to have a Kenner like trademark under it. You saw Quad Paw. I was like, okay.
I didn't even catch that was his name. I was too much conflicted on where are his joints, because like every time his second set of arms moved, I'm like, that doesn't like I can't put him together in my head. Like it looks like his arms are like inside that tunic.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the just 2 guys in a trench coat doing that, you know, behind the scenes or whatever.
It's like the Swedish Chef,
right?
Who was Jim Henson and what's his name? Frank Oz. Yeah, they both did the Swedish Chef together, and so it's one was the hands, one was the puppet.
Or David Bowie's crystals in the Labyrinth. That's just someone who can do that with their hands, like reaching around him, apparently.
I have never been able to sit through Labyrinth.
What?
I might as well log off. I can't believe we're friends. Wow.
I've tried
It's
to
too
watch
late.
it on
It's too
multiple
late. I've told
times, and I
people-
just
yeah.
can't. I can't do it. It's
Wow.
it's terrible.
So
Jim.
now you know you're terrible. It turns out. We're shocked. You're gonna
Yeah,
have to edit
I'm-
out like 2 minutes of us just shaking.
Turn
our
in your
heads.
Gen X card now. Go to an abandoned Blockbuster, put it on the counter,
I'm
walk
not.
away.
I'm not Gen X.
He's probably an old millennial, but so am I.
Okay.
So
old.
Certainly you're wrong.
Old.
But well, that's literally what we're called. So you can just get on board or not.
Elder
no,
millennials.
I'm going with Zennial. I like Zennial.
Hmm.
It's
I
the
hate
time
that. That's
between
terrible.
millennials and
I used to call
Gen
us
X.
the Oregon Trail generation because it was like if you played Oregon Trail on your like old ass computer, then you were the same age as me. But yeah, that's just the name for us. But yeah, no, it's too late. If you didn't see it as a kid, it's too late. Like I've learned this because it's like literally my foundational favorite movie, right? Here's my tattoo about Labyrinth. But like if you didn't see it as a kid, it's so 80s and so Jim Henson-y that like it's too late.
Like
So,
I'm 1,000 degrees in Jim Henson. I love the Muppets.
clearly
I
not. Clearly not.
There's the Muppets, and then there's not the Muppets, and I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That and there's another
I'm
one.
sad
What's
for
the
you.
other one during that time? Oh,
There's
they
Dark
just-
Crystal.
Dark Crystal.
Yeah, that one. Can't do that one either.
And there's also Farscape, which then you probably can't do either.
Never
but
watched Farscape.
Yeah. Yeah.
No. We're just finding out all these
Tragic.
things I never watched.
Tragic.
But back to Star Wars. I saw online. This was interesting. A lot of the shots that we saw, like we had talked about with Kenobi, a lot of Kenobi was done on the volume, but there were like several like actual films locations. I don't think any of Andor has been on the volume, but I could be wrong about that.
No, that's my understanding too.
Yeah, like because I know they definitely built Kenix. I believe that the town in the first arc, I know for a fact they built that whole town because I saw little clips of that one. But the power station, the dam, is also an actual location. I saw somebody post about that. The Cruachan Power Station, which I believe is in the UK. Maybe Scotland.
I'm really excited that they're on location because 3 years ago I was super excited about the volume, and that's obviously amazing and led to some really beautiful shows, but it's exciting to see them out of doors somehow. Like that feels fresh in this show.
I just like the differences that we're getting. It's if everything was on the volume, it'd start to feel stale. If everything was on Tatooine, it would start to feel stale, which it did.
Yeah, boo
and
Tatooine.
So now that we're jumping, filming styles, filming locations, story locations, it's like it's feeling a lot more fresh than it did. Like with the Book of Boba Fett, I think pushed things over the line a little, and then like I loved Kenobi, but it also being on Tatooine, it's like, why does everybody want to go back to Tatooine?
I hate Tatooine. I'm so over it. So
Actually,
yeah.
Tatooine keeps getting. It used to actually look like a backwater. Now they keep adding stuff to it. It's like
Yeah.
it's becoming the center of the galaxy. It was supposed to be a backwater planet.
Right. Yeah.
Well-
No, I think you're right about the variety being nice. And also in terms of the feels of the show and those sorts of things. I like the more this is a fun sandbox, right? Like, and I think George Lucas even described it that way at some point, was like, sure, maybe it's George Lucas's sandbox, but like everyone can come play. And thankfully I feel like I'm one of those fans where it's like, it doesn't all have to be for me, but I'm just glad there's lots of Star Wars. So yeah, this show feeling different from the last couple ones we've seen is fun and refreshing. And you'll get people who are like, well, this is the only way Star Wars should be. And like, no, go away. But like, I like the variety.
This iteration of our Star Wars is the most interesting one I think that we've gotten in a long time, because it is very different. There's so far up until this point no Force users, no lightsabers. We got some holocrons in the background. That's like the extent of it. And it's just the people in the dirt that are like Luke Skywalker didn't win the rebellion. He was a key component of it, but it's all these people that kind of put it in. It's where Rogue One kind of got it's like you need the grunts in the dirt to do everything. And so it's an interesting concept that we finally have a show that are focused on these people.
Well, and that opening moment in Rogue One where Cassian kills a guy, for the good of the mission, you're like, oh God. And that really set a tone. And I feel like this show is taking the core of that moment, that feeling, and exploring it in all different ways. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the Rogue One moment where Cassian and like a whole group of people behind him decide to go anyway, right? With Jyn after the leadership has said like, no, we're not going to go to Scarif. And, 20 people are like, well, we'll go. And they take off on Rogue One, blah, 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 blah. But that moment where I was like, okay, who are these 20 other people? Those are the stories I want to see. And that's exactly, I feel like, what we're getting here. So I'm jazzed for sure.
So have you guys read the Clone Wars Light and Dark, the short story collection yet?
Yes.
No.
Okay. And they do another perspective or a kind of a recap / other perspective of heroes on both sides. And I was listening to it in the car the other day, forgot how much, I don't know, maybe I'm just a nerd, but how much fun it is kind of digging into the politics of what made the Republic fall. And on the flip side, what's making the Empire so inefficient and bloated and, not effective to the point that they were in a state where they could be defeated by a group of rebels. Because there was, despite the fact we make fun of stormtroopers and how they were, there was a lot of competency. You had people like Thrawn and you had Sith Lords and stuff. I mean, you had some powerful weapons, but they basically, like that general who died of a heart attack after 15 minutes of moving stuff, they just kind of got so big they began not seeing things. You have that one Imperial officer trying to warn them, but otherwise they're arrogant and their hubris is going to bring them down, and you're getting to see that. So I don't know, I'm enjoying that part of it too.
Yeah, definitely. That felt like an important part. I mean, he's dead now, so he's not writing anymore, but of Nemec's sort of education, right?
Oh, I'm like the Imperial officer could have survived if he had gotten medical attention. Maybe
or he was faking, because we don't see him later either. But I mean Nemec, because there's a moment where Andor and him are talking about that is like they don't care about you, they won't think about you, and that really being the key to some of this rebellion is that they don't think they're going to get hit. The payroll is safe there because why would anyone even consider going up against them?
And there was a moment, it was comic relief, but it was pretty, when he thought his clothes had shrunk and his wife was like, no, you've expanded. And he was like, no, that can't be it. And then
you didn't store these properly the last 3 years. Like,
and then on top of that, he makes his son,
you buddy.
Yeah, he makes his son wear, like, I can't do it, but you still have to wear this. And like the hypocrisy and the hubris, like all of that, just in a brief comic relief moment, just kind of got put there.
It also shows how much of a great father he is, and like he probably barely pays attention to his son at all.
That's clear.
Like, yeah, the kid's weak and sickly. Like this is a storyline we've seen before, where the father blames the mother for the sick and weakly kid, and it's because of her pampering or something like that. And so
I mean, I chalk that up to like not having a lot of time, making sure we know this guy is bad, those sorts of things. But yeah, where you're saying there's some shades of gray and human moments or whatever. They just didn't want to give that guy any of those moments, so they just show him being just a fawn to everybody. And I'm fucking glad he's dead, and that Jim has to make notes about where to insert tauntaun noises, because it wouldn't be an episode with Melissa Miller without some cursing.
Oh, you noticed my writing down notes.
Yes, I did.
But it's like a lot of the Imperials we saw were like horribly racist. Like even though like we get the Imperials on the planet like oohing and awing over the eye, most of them complaining about the smell of the natives and very like the natives themselves, very, I'd say Mongolian. Probably because based on the attire that they were wearing, it seemed very like those hats looked very Mongolian to me. But
yeah, that's certainly where the costume designer got some ideas.
Yeah, and like all the skins, like basically calling them dumb. They couldn't hold more than 2 thoughts in their head at any time. They exchanged a lease for 3 years, which is very reminiscent of New York City, where we basically, our Europeans basically stole Manhattan from the Native Americans that lived there, because that's what they did. And so it's a lot of short code for, we don't like these guys.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I don't necessarily think, I didn't find it necessary, right? I'm already gonna root against them and for Cassian, obviously. So for me, it was something, I don't feel the need to really rehash because it's just sort of gross. But yeah, it was a way for the writers to just be like, these guys are don't forget. So
I found it interesting because I didn't catch it the first time, but I did question it. I didn't realize they answered it in the show. Is when you have these 4 random guards show up, nobody's gonna question where you get these random guards from, and they actually answered that in the show. And they're like, if anybody asks you, if they're from the garrison, you're from Alzani. If they're from Alzani, you're from the garrison. Which I'm like, okay, so they kind of answered it. And then like when the head honcho comes out, he's like, "You're from Alzani?" Like, sure.
Right. Well, and that's the part, like, I think because the lieutenant, the one that's like embedded there, is the one who says he's, he was in charge of doing that. We saw in the previous episode, he was in charge of making sure there was only, a skeleton crew, et cetera, et cetera. So like that part of the heist felt really well thought out and planned. Like, okay, there will only be so many people playing cards in the vault. There'll be so many people everywhere. But then at the same time, the communications part of the heist didn't make any sense to me. Like, and it's part of why I think, Cinta or whatever there might be more to her. Like she might actually be a turncoat or something like that, because
that'd be
like they took down all the comms except the communications to the one place that could come help them, right? The like air base with the TIE fighters. They left that was still open.
No, the TIE fighters were coming automatically. And so that's they were trying to get done before the TIE fighters were automatically going to come, because they said the TIE fighters are going to try to check in. And I think when the TIE fighters were unable to check in, they would be automatically coming in, is what I gathered.
Yeah, well, it's okay to be wrong. I think if you go back and watch it, it's clear they kill all the comms, but the comms between the airbase and the dam are still open. And then Cinta ignores a call from the airbase being like, hey, the vault alarm is going off here. Is everything okay there? Like she very easily could have Han Solo'd, everything's fine here. How are you? And she doesn't. She ignores it.
Okay.
And so they launched some TIE fighters to come check out the situation. And it's just
you are correct. They did. Okay. I forgot about the call in from that she ignores.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like they only launched those TIE fighters because the vault alarm went off and nobody answered, and they had the ability to answer. So I don't understand what the plan here was in the heist.
I don't know, but that was part of the plan, because Nemec specifically said, don't touch that button, that'll call Alzani, when he was giving her a tour of the that room.
Well, right, but when Alzani is calling to just ignore it, certainly they're going to come check it out. I think they were just maybe assuming no one was going to fly in the comet storm or whatever. But
no, they definitely were.
But
they were planning on that. That was the whole, like at the beginning when we first made the plan in the first part of the arc. They're like, it takes the TIE fighters 10 minutes to get there, and so I think that was like, we need to get this done in a certain amount of time, so we leave before the eye, and that they can't follow us because they will apparently be pummeled to death inside the eye.
Which turned out to be true, and that was a really cool sequence.
That was a very cool sequence.
For those of us who like the action, like you were saying, Nick, finally got some.
Yeah, and I thought maybe I was just being a big meathead. I mean, I like the action, but I've really enjoyed the character development. It took me a while. I'll fully admit, after a few episodes, I was like, I don't know about this, but I'm really starting to get into it. The action was cool, but I really like seeing this side of things. It's they're making the minutia of this a lot more interesting than I thought they would. It's a very, and I don't mean this as an insult or a compliment. It's a very un-Star Wars show right now. And I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I love Star Wars. I have no problem with it. It's very, I mean, there's not, most Star Wars, they try to link back to old media, except for some TIE fighters. There's not much. I mean, of course, you have Andor, but, there's some TIE fighters. We're not seeing like old familiar friends. There's very few aliens. It's a very, I don't know, it's a very just grounded Star Wars show. It's interesting watching what they're doing.
Yeah,
Well,
definitely.
Well, there's four paws, quad paws.
Yeah, there are some. There certainly are,
yeah.
and there were lots of background ones in the earlier arc and stuff like that. But no, I take your point, and it not being, the hope, thing, and not being really as kid friendly as some other Star Wars or whatever. I get what you're saying about like it doesn't. It's different, definitely. So, yeah.
I found. So like we had talked about like not much Easter eggs, and then we had like we were exploded with Easter eggs in the one episode, and then again like this episode not much Easter eggs again. The one Easter egg that I really did notice, other than the callback to or call ahead to Rogue One, the med spike. They don't usually call those little shots med spikes. I think that's from Knights of the Old Republic, like you'd pick up a med spike to like keep yourself going. Apparently it doesn't work very well if you've been crushed by 1,000 pounds of money, but
Right.
It allowed them to get them out of there. Also, nobody has the backup. Nobody's able, like, what happened if you didn't make it? Like, there's no backup to Nemec getting them out of there.
Yeah, that seems poorly thought out, considering how many of them went down or whatever, for that not to be a backup. But yeah, no, I take your point about the Easter eggs though, because I mean, I don't need Easter eggs to be in things. But I think especially coming off of Obi-Wan Kenobi, where it was like every episode, someone's name was carved into the background or some symbol was somewhere or something like that, that this feels refreshingly like we're just in this story, everybody. Just here.
Even in Kenobi, they're subtle. People harped on them. I think it's more the harping on it than actually like the Corrin one was. I keep hearing it brought up. It was barely in the episode, and I think only by like you look at the character list is where you would see it. It's like that's not like it's not like it's some huge major plot point of the episode. It's like seriously hidden Easter eggs.
Well, I always think, I mean, that's literally the definition, right? You just said it, right? Easter eggs are hidden. So, plot points or callbacks or introducing characters, that's different to me than the little hidden stuff. Because I actually don't want all of the set dressers or writers or whoever to be thinking too much about like, oh, we should reference so-and-so from such and such. So I'm kind of glad that the Easter egg people are having a harder time with Andor.
Harder time, or just not trying hard enough. Or maybe they're trying so hard that we haven't found it yet.
The Easter egg people. I like that. all these
the
Easter
bunny,
eggs.
I guess. Yeah. We'll just call them the Easter bunnies. You know? Now here's my question about what we see on Coruscant. And that's about the news of this heist gets out. From what I know of the Empire's propaganda machine, I can't imagine news of this heist would be out. Wouldn't they cover this up?
Well, it probably works like what we see, but the story will get out, and then, the corporate groups of stuff will be told how to spin it, and they'll spin it. But it'll be the same way it gets out on through social media channels. They haven't really explored social media much, and they will, but it'll get out that way, and then it'll start to be reshaped. And then the weird conspiracy theories will start, and then the typical stuff. But for now, you're getting the raw information getting out. Probably that's what's
I'm still surprised though.
I agree. It seems weird, especially since this is a backwater planet. Like, there's literally no reason it should get out other than the fact, like, it may have gotten out because it was the entire sector's payroll. And it's kind of hard to explain why you're not going to be able to get paid this month unless they have to explain like something happened. But it seems very something very weird. Like, how did this get out?
Yeah, because their comms are down.
Unless the rebellion did that as some sort of like propaganda, like.
Well, but we see Luthen finding out from the news report.
Which
if
is
anyone was
also
going to leak
really
it
weird.
it would have been Luthen, right? Because I could see that, right? It's a very like leverage or whatever. Like, haha, we did a heist. Now let's go gloat about it. But then you would see Luthen finding out separately and leaking it, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Also, that whole conversation was the weirdest conversation ever. Like, why is this guy just lounging inside of a high-end pawn store or antiquities dealer? Two, randomly brings up like the one thing, like, oh, do you have anything from Alzani? Because there was a heist there, apparently. Like, really? Like, out of an entire galaxy's worth of news, like, that's what you're gonna pick up?
Yeah. I just thought of it as like maybe it's her driver sitting there kicking up, scrolling through social media feeds or something like that.
It probably was her driver, actually. You're right.
That didn't seem out of place necessarily to me, but I liked the little redirect. And again, if it's big enough news that literally senators are like leaving the chamber because it's breaking,
is that what was happening? I thought they were leaving because they weren't interested in what she was saying.
Oh no, they were leaving because they were getting news about it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I get that it's a big thing, but also I want to point out they didn't get the entire sector's payroll because they got like maybe a tenth of what was in that vault. So again, I have questions about their heist plans. But
it's Grandpa couldn't pull his weight. He had a heart attack.
Again, don't plan on the random 6 people left behind carrying all your stuff. Anyway, but
who don't want to do it. It's like,
right.
That's
exactly.
why I'm like, so everybody who wants to get this done is holding guns. Everybody who doesn't want to do it is doing the work. Like, you're not gonna get what you think you're gonna get out of this.
Yeah. And also, my last point, I guess, would be that if I was making a plan for, getting all the way through this, one of the things I would then do is tempt the mercenary to take the money and run. So I'm not convinced, at least the way they were setting up the story, Skeen was testing him, right? Because that's what you do with mercenaries. You're like, hey, we could just go. And you want them to say, how dare you? I am good. I am here for the cause. And then you're like, good job, you passed. Instead, he shoots him. And that's the end of that story. And I guess we hope that Skeen was actually bad because now he's dead.
Well, I guess the question is, does he actually have a brother?
Yeah.
I think,
and I don't discount, I don't discount that he's bad and he was in it for the money the whole time and has just been a really good, but he cares. He's really upset about Nemec when he dies. He even says the whole reason we're here is this kid. And then to go just money, it seemed weird. And I was like, oh, this is a test. You got to pass the test, Andor. And then he shot him.
Yeah.
So yeah,
he passed he
passed in the most extreme manner possible.
Like he Kobayashi Maru'd it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. And the manifesto, I was trying to decide if Andor gets his, manifesto from this kid's manifesto. Like, that's nice. They set up some nice scenes with them together. I liked that kid, but also, I don't know. I want Andor to be in it. I don't know. It feels a little bit like, it's not really fridging in this case because it's not a woman and his significant other or whatever, but it just feels like, okay, would he be a bad guy if that kid lived and just go collect his money and leave? I don't want it just to be because that kid died that he gets into this, I want there to be something else.
And the kid had stayed alive, that would have made it a lot more complicated. You're right. They're kind of making it so this kid, I mean, you could see it coming. He's going to read his manifesto and all that. If he'd stayed, can you imagine how complicated that situation would? Like if the kid had survived,
Yeah.
that situation would have been infinitely more complex.
But then you also get like the whole perhaps handicapped aspect of it by like clearly his spine was shattered, and so it would have been an interesting kind of what if we kept this guy alive, because he's clearly a beloved character.
Yeah.
As they
and
set
a
him up to be.
conscience and yeah, exactly. So just to me, it was, I don't like that kind of storytelling, I guess, you know, of just setting like the way that Nicole could tell as soon as she loved him that
the
he was
emotional
gonna die.
manipulation is essentially like what they're doing.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm used to it. Most of my pop culture does it to me, but I'm a little disappointed. If the manifesto comes from him and if Andor's, you know, I'm in it for the cause now comes from him, I wanted there to be something more. You covered it in an earlier episode, so we don't need to rehash it, but the whole I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old, you know, and then like not really. I mean, Jyn Erso was really in the fight longer, so like shut your mouth. I don't love what they've done
for
there.
3 weeks.
Yeah. And it's only because this kid wrote really eloquently and was nice to me and then died. Like I don't know. I'm sure I'll love it, but that part doesn't sit quite. I would have done it differently, and that's really all there is to it.
All right. I think that's all my notes that I had. We at the end, like the entire episode was all Andor except for the very, very end. Like we mentioned, we got brief glimpses of the ISB. We got brief glimpses of Mon Mothma and brief glimpses of Luthen, and nothing from
What's his toes?
What's his nuts? And Douche Canoe. So it's our two favorite characters.
Yeah. I'm curious what y'all think about what's his nuts.
I don't.
Is that the officer who got because I wasn't here for it? Which one's Douche Canoe and which one's what's nuts?
What's his nuts is the corporate sector guy who basically got his entire sector annexed by the Empire.
Okay.
And Douche Canoe is Mon Mothma's husband.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
You know, with what's his nuts, I feel bad because, like, I mean, he is, again, he's an Imperial officer. He's evil. He wants to do bad. He's a terrible leader, but he was trying to do the right thing, kind of. You know, his superior had said, like, we're just going to cover this up and not do it. He's like, no, they killed some of our officers. You know, now, I mean, that said, he treated his employees terribly, and it's hard to feel too much sympathy for him. But there is a small part. It's like, you know, he really was trying to do what he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know,
except for the officers were clearly not doing what they were supposed to do, which is why they ended up in that position in the first place, which is why they were like, yeah, we're just going to sweep that under the rug.
But he didn't want to sweep it under the rug. He wanted to, he's like, I don't care if you think this is right or wrong. It's what we're supposed to do.
I don't care if the officers were clearly grifting from somewhere in places they weren't supposed to be. At times they weren't supposed to be doing things they weren't supposed to be, which make us all look bad.
Yeah. No, I'm not sorry he wasn't in this episode at all, because like in episode 5, it was just sort of an interruption of the action to be like, and I'm still eating, you know, frosted cocoa bowls. And my mom still, you know, kind of rude to me, and there's more history and I'll be back soon. And like, I don't need more of that. I believe he'll be back soon, but I guess I get it. He'll be, I was glad he wasn't in this episode at all. And I think that Nicole is right. I think he's going to end up on the rebel side. I think she said that pretty early on, and was my first thought. I was like, this guy's so gung-ho, but doesn't care what direction he's pointed in. And I think, I mean, the mom keeps mentioning, I'll call your uncle. I think that's got to mean something. That maybe his uncle is going to be Bail Organa, because why would you mention, it's MacGuffin's, right? It's Uncle MacGuffin. Why would you mention, I'll get in touch with your uncle, if that's not going to be something? But maybe he'll just go full private eye. Maybe he'll just go full private eye, track down Andor, you know, to clear his name or whatever, try to get back in with the Empire. But I'm interested to see more of his story. I was glad that they didn't have him in this episode because he had no place in this episode.
I feel like he is going to come back. Like they're going to have a little bit of him in the next arc, and then the final arc, he's going to come back as the big bad against Andor. It's kind of what I'm feeling. And then they're going to have a big climactic blowout, and there'll be the big boss battle. And they'll kiss.
Yeah, I guess I did that visually, not audio. I didn't want to interrupt you. I was like, and then they'll kiss. More kissing in Star Wars, please. That's not actually my prediction. I just was trying to mess you up. I'm sorry I did.
No. So, yeah, that's everything I have. Nick, anything else?
No, that was it. I just call on Lucasfilm to still, once again, put Melissa's nature documentary about Star Wars as a Disney Plus special. You'd have her narrate it. I want to see it. There's lots of us who would. You don't think because it's not flashy.
That's what we would all be for Celebration a little.
I know, but I want it as a series, like a, that keeps going. Not just a special, just a series.
Yeah. No, I thank you very much. That's very nice. I want that too. My brother does a pretty good David Attenborough voice, which is what we had. If you want to see those, I made a panel that Jim was on at Star Wars Celebration and some other scientists, series of mini documentaries about wildlife in Star Wars. Those are on the Star Warsologies YouTube channel. So thank you, Nick.
So Melissa,
you'll get some kickbacks.
Yeah. Melissa, where else can we find you? What else are you doing out there?
You can find me. So I'm the science and technology writer for Nerdist. I don't think there's a "the" in front of it. This isn't the Ohio State or anything like that. So on nerdist.com, I'm Melissa T. Miller. I write about science, technology, and a lot of other silly stuff. Interview some science consultants for TV shows and movies and fun stuff like that. I'm also on Twitter at Melissa Truth, Truth, if you want to follow me there for dog pictures and also lots of Nerdist retweets. Yeah, and I have a podcast called Star Warsologies with my friend James Floyd, where we interview experts about all sorts of, crossover with Star Wars. So we've had Jim on to talk about geology, and we've had people on to talk about economics and people to talk about religion. So there's pretty much an endless supply of topics. We've got one coming out about adoption next week and some other really cool topics.
Excellent. And I highly recommend your article on one of the recent Rings of Power episode. It was a fascinating read.
Yes.
The scientist that you spoke to was clearly not sleep deprived at 11 p.m. at night writing answers to your questions.
No,
it was me.
It was great.
If anybody out there is still wondering.
Yes, we had Dr. Jim Lehane, geologist, on to talk about the creation of Mount Doom in Rings of Power, because I know I wasn't the only one who was like, wait, does water actually cause volcanoes? So if you're one of those people, check out that article. It
was a good article. You made me sound intelligent.
I mean, I'm a professional. I get paid.
You could tell.
No, and I text Jim probably once a month or something like that, some random dinosaur question or geology question, because you're my go-to nerd in that department.
That's good. I like being a go-to nerd for something. All right. And with that, you can get a hold of us, Talkin Tauntauns at AIPTcomics.com. You can find us on Twitter at Talkin Tauntauns. You can join our Patreon and talk to us through Discord through AIPTcomics.com. You can leave us a 5-star review. I think that's the only options that are available for leaving reviews are 5 stars. At least when you review this show, it's either 5 stars or no stars. Or I actually don't do no stars. Share a friend, share the show with a friend, or share a friend. At which point, everybody realizes that I do this off the top of my head and I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm going to stop right now, and we'll see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Jim.